I want to help you get started on your semester exam review. So I want to pick out a couple of problems and start with functions. The other problems on functions should be pretty basic. You should be able to figure those out. In this particular problem, it gives you two functions. F of x is equal to 3x squared plus 1, and g of x is equal to 1/2 x minus 6. The problem says find f of negative 1 minus g of 6. You have to first do each one individually. To find f of negative 1, you go here, and where there's an x, you're going to substitute in negative 1. A reminder to keep that negative 1 in parenthesis, especially if you type it in a calculator. Negative 1 squared is going to be a positive 1. If you don't put this in parenthesis, the calculator will read it as just a negative. So we have here, this is negative 3 times positive 1 plus 1, and your answer is going to be negative 2. So we have f of negative 1 equals negative 2. Now I'm going to go and find g of 6. I go to my function g, and right here I plug in, where there's an x, I plug in 6. So this is 1/2 times 6 minus 6. 1/2 of 6 is 3, minus 6 is negative 3. So we found that f of negative 1 is negative 2, g of 6 is negative 3. Then we go back to the problem and just substitute in right here. I know that f of negative 1 is negative 2 minus, and that minus comes from right here, g of 6 is negative 3. Be very careful that when you substitute in and you see that this is a negative, you have minus a negative becomes plus a positive, and that will give you 1. So whenever I find this difference, that difference is 1. Be careful again of substituting in negatives in parentheses, and minus a negative is plus a positive. The next one I want to look at is to find 4 consecutive integers whose sum is 290. The first thing you have to know is what that formula is, or that definition for 4 consecutive integers. The formula always starts with x. The next would be x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, x plus 4, x plus 5, and etc. One right after the other, consecutive. This particular problem says I want 4. Well, if I count them, here's my first, my second, my third, and my fourth. So I have 4 consecutive integers. The key here is sum, which tells me to add them together. The word is means equals, so they're going to equal up. That sum will equal to 290. So I set that up. X plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 3, that sum is 290. Combine like terms, I have 4 x's. When I combine my constants, these 3, that adds up to be 6, is equal to 290. Then you just solve. Subtract 6 from both sides. 4x is 284. Divide by the coefficient 4. We find that x is 71. Several things here to note, just to make sure you don't make a careless error. The first is that it's an integer. An integer is a number that is not a fraction, or not a non-repeating decimal, not a decimal or a fraction. So if I had gotten 71.5, I would have known that that answer was wrong. If it says consecutive numbers, all's fair and game. But integers are very specific. Another thing is, I'm looking for 4 consecutive integers. Be sure if it asks to answer the question. In other words, when I answer this, I need the 4 consecutive integers. I have x is 71. 71 plus 1 is 72. 71 plus 2 is 73. 71 plus 3 is 74. So this answer would be 71, 2, 3, and 74. However, if it were to have asked for the smallest of the integers, my answer would have been 71. If it had asked for the largest, I would have had to figure or calculate all of my integers here, but that answer would be 74. So be sure that you watch that question that it asks. Easy to check these problems. If I just put in my calculator 71 plus 72 plus 73 plus 74 in that calculator, it will give me 290. So it's a very easy way to check this problem. This is how you find consecutive integers.